Hello, this is Anthony Van Dyke. I'm glad you could join us today. We're here to talk about this radio show starts every Sunday night live at 7 a.m. We're glad that you could be with us tonight. This is Anthony Van Dyke, and we're here to talk about a great topic, just like we did last week. Last week's topic was awesome. We got a lot of great response from you, and we're glad that you're able to tell all your friends about this broadcast. It's coming live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Tonight's topic is called the greatest listening, the greatest form of communication. But I just want to recap last week. We had an exciting show. My son Nicholas was on board with me last week, and we talked about family values, and he was open, and he shared the importance of having family values, and I was excited about it because I didn't really know what he was going to be talking about, but he came in strong for us last week. And I'm excited about this show today. We're talking about listening, the greatest form of communication. And I'm finding now that people don't listen the way they should. And when you don't listen, it's hard to move forward, it's hard to advance, and it's hard to go forward in life. I found that there's a common trait among successful people, their listening skills. Listening is hard work. There's 4 things that listening requires. And if you're going to be a great communicator, you must learn how to listen. Listening is a learned skill. One of the first things that I found out about listening is that it requires effort. To be a good listener, it takes effort. You must you must make an intention to say, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to do it. And you'll be surprised that in the middle of a conversation, when someone is talking, you'll find yourself interrupting. You oftentimes find yourself talking over people. Good communicators are great listeners. Oftentimes successful people are great listeners. Listening also requires concentration. You have to concentrate on what the other person is saying, not always trying to get your point across, but when you understand what they're really saying, you can really grab hold of sometimes this valuable information that people are sharing, and that's very important that you are able to grab hold of that valuable information. Great listeners also have humility. When you are humble, you can learn from those that are around you. Great communicators understand that they don't know everything, that there's somebody around them that has more information, that has more insight, and that's what you ought to surround yourself with, people that can help you in your every endeavor. We should never live on an island by ourselves, and it's very important that we remain humble in everything that we do, and everything we say, and everything that we be. And one of the other things I found out with getting better listening skills is that you must be willing to be taught. You must be willing to let someone else pour and deposit into you. Once again, I'll keep going back to people that have strived and that have attained the things that we want to attain. They're willing to be taught. Stores do marketing. Stores, if you ever been into a major department store, you wonder why they ask for your zip code. The reason why they ask for your zip code is because they want to know who's shopping and where you're coming from. And if enough people come to a certain location, what they'll do then is at some point in time, they will eventually do an investigation and probably build a store in that area. See, what they're doing, they're listening to your spending habits. That's what makes people like Walmart so great. Whenever there's a need in the community, Walmart puts up another store because they're listening to the buying habits. They're listening to what people are doing. Listening is a skill that if you would just take time and decide that, I'm going to start listening more, I'm going to talk less, you'll find that you'll start gaining more information. You'll start gaining more knowledge. So listening is 4 parts. Listening requires effort. You must make a conscious effort to listen to what others are saying. I know that we think we're pretty smart and that we know everything, but we can learn something. Second thing listening requires, it requires concentration. You have to really concentrate. Oftentimes when you're listening to people, you kind of drift off or you fall asleep, but you have to focus on that. And then you have to be humble. It's hard to receive something from somebody when you feel like you already know it all. You feel like they can't tell you anything, and there is a good possibility that if you feel like that, you cannot receive from that person. And then last, you must be willing to be taught. That is pretty awesome to know that those listening skills will get you to another place in your life. And if you want to really seem important, learn to listen to what somebody else is saying, and that's an awesome thing to do. But I'm finding now there are 10 areas that you can do to improve your listening skills. Today we'll go over those 10 areas with you, and we will get your insight on it. There are 10 areas that you can go over to improve your listening skills. First of all, you got to find areas of interest. Good listeners seize opportunity. They want to know what's in it for me. A good listener wants to know, hey, what's in this thing for me? You have to, when you're engaging in conversation with someone, you have to decide what's in this. This person is saying something that's beneficial to me. That's key, so that you can find areas of interest. No matter who that person is, you can always gain something from that conversation if you look hard enough. But I found that the times that I don't get anything is I went into that conversation or that interaction with a critical mind. And it's hard to receive when you have a critical mind versus an open heart, open mind, open spirit. That critical mind will hold you back every time, and it will kill your ability to become interested in the conversation, which is pretty awesome. You have to judge the content, not the delivery. Oftentimes when you're talking to someone and they may not be quite as articulate as yourself, we oftentimes want to judge the content and not the delivery. And it's very important that you get the content. The content is crucial. Good listeners judge content. They skip over delivery errors. Sometimes they may have broken English, or they may not be from your part of town, and they have a different dialect, and they sound different than you. I kind of pride myself in that. When I'm listening to people, I can almost tell what part of the country you're from, what's your nationality, just by listening to how you say things. It's very easy to pick up accents. My wife is from Philadelphia, and I listen to her talk, and I'm able to when I come in contact with someone, I can tell whether they're from Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey, Boston. It's amazing. At certain regions carry certain vocal pauses. There's a certain way they say words, and it's pretty interesting. I'm able to guess most of the time. Is because I am priding myself in learning to listen to people and to really be interested in their stories. I mean, everybody has a story. You almost want to, when you meet new people, you want to ask them where they're from. How did you get here? Tell me your story. And if you're careful, you just might hear a story. You might hear something that will be interesting. And if you talk long enough, you'll soon find that there's some kind of connecting point with you and that person. It doesn't matter where they're from, how old they are. If you talk long enough, there will be a connecting point. So concentrate on the content, not delivery. Third thing is you must hold your fire. Poor listeners tend to enter into arguments. And have you ever been talking to someone and they're trying to get their point off, and you're trying to get your point off? But poor listeners, they tend to argue a lot, and they don't receive anything. Good listeners, they don't judge until comprehension is complete. Have you ever jumped in the middle of something and they said a half a phrase and you jump right in the middle of it, and if you had let them complete their thought, you wouldn't have quite had the response that you had. So allowing people to complete their thought many times will save you some embarrassment. It'll save you from being frustrated. It's amazing at how we can get caught into crossfires, arguing and going back and forth and back and forth. If we just listen, we can allow people to get their thoughts off and have a clear thought process. And then we got to listen for ideas, and that's awesome. That when you find the right people in your surroundings and you start listening, what ideas are you coming up with? And I like to be around creative people who they're always thinking about how can they improve life, and listen for ideas. Poor listeners listen for facts. Good listeners listen for central themes. What is the theme? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? I'm not listening to create an argument, but I want to know what's going on with you. We're listening for ideas. You have to learn to listen to people. What are their ideas? What are they coming up with? How did they get there? It's amazing when you talk to bright people. You talk to people that have struggled and made it, and it's amazing when you listen to what they've been through and their story. And I like to hear the story. I want to know how you got here. Would you do things differently? And that's one of the greatest form of communication, is that you ask the question and then you're really, really listening. Have you ever walked up to someone and said good morning, or asked them how they're doing, and then they start talking and telling you how they're doing, and you change the subject? And it's amazing at how many people, or how many times we ask people how they're doing, and when they tell us, we really don't even care. So the key is to make sure that when you ask the question, you're willing to listen. You're willing. If you don't care about how they feel, don't ask how they feel, because people are looking for someone to listen to them. They're looking for someone to understand, and oftentimes listening, you're not even offering an opinion. You're just there as support for them. So listening for ideas. Be a flexible note taker. When you are a good listener, you take notes, and that's the key to everything that you do. Learning to take physical notes and mental notes. The poor listener is busy with form and misses content. The good listener adjusts to the topic and organizational patterns. And everything have cadence. I mean, there are certain people that when you talk to them, you kind of know where they're going, because people have patterns. If you listen very carefully, you can find out where they're going. If you listen, people oftentimes say one thing to set you up for something else. And it doesn't take long to listen to people and to see where they're coming from. I've had people to ask me a question to see how they were going to set me up to ask me another question. So I've acquired a listening skill to really check people out, and not only am I listening, but I'm also watching, because listening, when you're also communicating by your nonverbal action, which is pretty amazing when you start checking out people. Listening is the greatest form of communication. Have you communicate? How do you communicate? Are you a good listener? If you were to judge yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, are you a 2? Are you a 3? Are you a 4? None of us are 10s. We're all striving to become that. But what kind of listener are you? Can you, if someone talks to you about a subject that you don't even care anything about, do they get your full attention? Work at listening. Poor listeners show no energy output. They fake attention. It's kind of like you're falling asleep. They're talking to you. Good listeners work hard. They exhibit alertness. And good listeners, you'll say, yeah, okay, I got that. I understand where you're going from, and not just saying it and not comprehending, because there's nothing worse than you say, I got it, and then they ask you to repeat what they said, and you can't do it. No one wants anyone to be pretentious around them. So work at listening very hard. And when listening, you have to resist distractions. That is the key. You can become so distracted that, and I hate talking to people, and they're talking to you, talking to them, and you want to make eye contact with them, and they're looking to the left, or they're looking to the right, or they're reading, and you want to be that kind of person that you block everything off, and you want to resist distractions. Poor listeners are easily distracted. Good listener fights and avoids distraction. They tolerate bad habits in others. They know how to concentrate. So sometimes when you listen to people, they may have bad habits. They may be smacking gum or maybe doing things. But the key is that you want to grab the content. You want to, if somebody has information for me that's going to be detrimental to my life, that's going to be detrimental to my success, I'm going to overlook all the other things that they're doing just so that I can grab hold of the content that I need. This content is major.